You said you were cleared for contact over the weekend. Is that right? I mean, obviously you've been able to do different stuff these last few months, but what's the difference for you now that you've kind of cleared that hurdle?
I mean, it's a big step, obviously. We've taken this process somewhat slow. We've been very diligent in the rehab and really staying safe and taking the time that we have. There's no need to push into contact and risk a third injury. So it's been good, and it's been good to take those steps forward and see progress.
A number of people in your situation may not want to stick around for a new coach and a rebuild. Is that something that intrigues you, maybe being a part of another regime at IU?
It's a change, and it's cool to be a part of two eras. I just had 4 great years with Coach Green, won a championship, known him since I was in 8th grade. So we have an extensive history between the two of us, and I'm appreciative for everything he's done for me, and I'm also looking forward to what we do with Coach Miller and what we have going forward in this year. And one of the main reasons I came back was just because I don't get another chance at this.
Juwan was talking a lot about leadership and how important that is to this team, and it seems like you guys have a lot more leaders than maybe you did last year. After the year with Yogi and that group at the end, there was all kinds of leadership. Can you just talk about how important that piece will be with this group?
Oh, it's extremely vital. At this point, we're all learners. We're all learning, and new system, new coaches, so we're all learning, but the leadership comes in where just pushing guys and getting the best out of each other. And some of us that have won before, we know what it takes to win, and we just got to take the mentality of winning and transform it into this new system that Coach Miller and his staff is implementing.
Collin, do you ever look back? Obviously, you spent a lot of time on the bench last year watching, and everybody said, players said, opposing coaches, I talked to a number of opposing coaches, said this would be a whole different Indiana team if Collin Hartman was playing on that floor. You ever look back and say, what if?
There's always what ifs. You can't change it though. It is what it is. Last year I tried to do my best and just communicate, and we were a young team. Had a lot of unfortunate incidents with OG and injuries, and a lot of things didn't go our way. In situations like that, you kind of just gotta do the best that you can. And in that point in time, for myself, it was just talk to these guys, keep coaching, and just stay diligent in your work day in and day out.
When you were thinking about coming back, I mean, I can imagine we all know some of the people you talked to, coaches and teammates, but who all, I guess, did you kind of keep counsel with in terms of making that decision to take the 5th year?
Surprisingly enough, I talked to a lot of people. I obviously took into account my mom and my family and Coach Green and the coaching staff and everybody around me. But I really took to heart what people said who didn't have stake or didn't have their biased opinions in the matter. They didn't get anything out of me staying or going. I talked to people that were neutral and just gave me an insight on life. And those are the real people that I really took into. Like, I love my mom more than anything, but I knew she wanted me to stay. But that's what she was going to try to sway me to do. She did a good job at staying neutral. So she said she kind of just wouldn't say anything, but I did talk to people who didn't have a stake in whether I stayed or I left.
You talked about the leadership role. Still in that same role, are you impressing on these younger Hoosiers the importance of putting this jersey on, taking every practice and every game, and relishing the moment because anything can happen to you?
Yeah, it's really hard to, if you haven't lived it on the court, it's hard to put into words what this jersey really means, especially for the young guys coming onto campus. It's different when you're in Bloomington. People recognize you. They know every move you're doing. If you're doing something good, doing something bad, or just walking around, whatever, they know it, and it means more than they can imagine. A lot of these guys have never played without a name on their back, and we don't. We just have a name across our chest, and that's all we represent. Yes, we represent our families. Yes, we represent ourselves, but at the end of the day, we represent millions of people that are IU fans, and they live and die by every game that we play. So it's hard to really put into words to these young guys what it really, really means, but trust me, we try.
You're in your 5th year, but you're learning a whole new coaching staff and a new system. What's been the biggest change or thing that you have to kind of adjust to with the new staff?
Just schemes, really. At the end of the day, if you play hard, they're going to live with mistakes wherever you go. If you play hard and you try to make up for those mistakes and you don't turn the ball over, you'll be fine. But a lot of people play hard, so that's where talent and hard work comes into play, like doing extra work, stuff of that nature. So we've had a good summer so far, but it's really not hard. It's been a very smooth transition so far, just because the game is the game. But X and O's wise, that's probably going to be the biggest transition and change.
Have there been specific players, besides yourself, that have started to take more of a leadership role?
Definitely. Rob has definitely, he's always been a leader by example, but I think he's really taken up a more vocal role in his leadership, and along with Josh and Jawan and guys like that. But everybody's really matured throughout this summer, and I think we've really grown together as a group.
With this most recent injury and maybe having a more mature perspective that you do now, how are you smarter about your training, about your rehab, about practices?
The one word I would use is efficiency. When you're going through rehab and stuff, you're not going to be able to go as long as people. You're not going to be able to work as long as you'd like. But when you're doing that work, you gotta use it wisely. You can't be doing stuff that's not going to help you, or just messing around like some other people might be able to. So you really have to be efficient with your work, and that applies to everything in life. As you move on, just through practice, through movements, through school, through anything, use your time efficiently, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned.
Collin, back in March, you pulled first here at Indiana University by a little engagement on the floor. Just how's that gone since then, that all took place?
It's been pretty crazy. It kind of blew up, and but it's been crazy. It was an unforgettable night that I don't think her or I or anybody that was there will really forget. But it was a special moment. I had her family there, my family, all of our friends, both teams, obviously, and it was the easiest way and most inconspicuous way to get everybody there, so she wouldn't know. But it's been kind of hectic. It slowed down a little bit. We went looking for venues. That wasn't as fun as I thought it'd be. But I think it's only going to be more detailed and stressful. But we put it. We're going to shoot for way after the season, so I don't really have to worry about it till after the season. So that's a good thing.
What are the 3 freshmen that just recently got here, I think last month, what have they brought to the table from your perspective so far?
They listen really well, and at this level, and especially with the coaching change, that's huge. They may even have the upper hand on me, just because they're not hardwired one way already. They don't have to change their schemes or whatever, and so we're learning together. But they work hard, they listen well, and they're easy to talk to. They're good dudes, so it makes living with them basically that much easier.
How much is
a number of different roles on the court? Coming back this year for your senior year, what do you need to be as a player to have your maximum impact?
A winner. Very simply put. Whatever the game calls for at that point in time, whether it's guarding a big or guarding a guard or scoring 20 or scoring 0 and getting rebounds or steals or whatever. I just want to be able to play every position that coach needs me and be able to be like, I don't know, what do you call it? It's a knife that has all the different
Swiss Army
knife. Yeah, just where he could put me anywhere at any point in time and I can carry out my job.
How different is what you're able to do since being cleared compared to what you were able to do, I don't know, at the end of last week?
Well, it's a lot different. I have to think about other people now when I do contact. Throughout rehab, and I've done this twice now, throughout rehab, before you get to contact, you're not thinking about anybody else. You control your own body movements, and that's it. But after you get into contact, you have to get back into the physicality of the game. And you have to think about other people's movements and read them, and it's not all just based off you now. So it's really reactionary and reprogramming my body and my muscles to be able to react and be more explosive.
How much has defense and turnovers, I know those have been problems last year, how much has that been emphasized so far in what you guys are working on?
Huge. Working on defense, working on our skill work, ball handling, passing, just crisping, making everything more crisp and clean. So at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. If you play defense and don't turn the ball over, you're going to win 80% of your games.
Juwan said, it's kind of a weird question, but last year obviously everybody talked about how much they missed you as a leader, a guy in the locker room behind the scenes. Earlier today, Juwan said he's just very confident it's not going to be an issue this year. What's different about the approach that not just you but other guys are taking to making sure the communication, leadership, some of those intangible issues just aren't going to crop up this year the way they did last year?
You said it's the communication, vocalizing things and not just expecting people to know it. Like I said, Rob and Juwan and everybody are being much more vocal on and off the court, which is very promising for games, because when you get 17,500 in there, you can't hear anything, especially if nobody's talking to you. So their communication has to be at a very high level, and I think that guys are really taking steps towards that this year.
When did you first do anything that was contact? Was that just the other day? Or
Yeah, just the other day. Just on the pad stuff, just finishing with the pad, finishing with contact and stuff like that.
Was that Monday?
I don't know what day.
Probably Monday.
Today's Tuesday.
Okay.
So,
All right, Colin. Thanks.
thanks guys.
Thanks, Colin.